Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Temple Institute Parsha class. My name is Gedalia Meyer, and I'm podcasting from Ma'ale Adumim in Israel. We are all familiar with the expression, the bottom line. We all know that it means the essence of whatever it is that is being hashed over. After all the details have been sorted out and all the questions answered, the bottom line is what this thing is really all about. It may be some clear statement of purpose. It may be the plan in a nutshell. It may be some final summation of everything discussed, put in a short and concise manner so that everyone involved can understand what's going on. The clarification of the bottom line is, as we all know, very useful in taking things from the theoretical to the practical. It is the way of getting things done. Sometimes it's not easy to clarify what the bottom line is on things. It may not be clear what the end goal really is. There may be more than one bottom line to a given situation. There may be disagreement over what it really is. Regardless of these problems, everyone agrees that it is usually pretty essential to clarify and perhaps attempt to voice what the bottom line really is. It helps to know what it is that one is getting into. When it comes to a particularly complex set of ideas, like a religion, it may be almost impossible to zero in on the bottom line. There is just too much going on and too many central concepts to really boil everything down to a single statement. When we attempt to apply the bottom line notion to a religion as complex as Judaism, there is almost no point in trying. If one were to ask 100 knowledgeable Jews what the bottom line is of Judaism, it's a good bet that there would be at least 50 bottom lines. Among the opinions would be several that would insist that Judaism has no bottom line at all. It's an incredibly deep and multifaceted set of beliefs and practices that have been inherited from about 3,000 years of tradition and have undergone more changes in that time than anyone is capable of counting. With these obstacles laid on the table, we are going to attempt to ascertain the bottom line of Judaism. While Judaism has a vast set of writings and teachings to choose from, it makes sense that the true essence of it would be found somewhere in the Bible. This is the foundational text of Judaism, and the one which pretty much everything has to come to terms with in one way or another. We can narrow things down even further and insist that it must come from somewhere in the Torah. There is no question that the Torah is the central text of Judaism, and has been so for as long as Jewish writings have been known. While this does limit the possibilities, it is still pretty hard to find that elusive bottom line. The Torah is a long book, and it has more than its share of profound teachings. Perhaps someone might select something from the Ten Commandments, which is certainly the core set of laws in the Torah. But there is really nothing there that qualifies as a definitive bottom line. Perhaps there is something in the creation story or the story of the Garden of Eden. Perhaps there is something as foundational as the unspoken answer to the question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" that could be made to work. There are many possibilities, and it is not easy to single out just one. If it were put to a vote, it's a good bet that one of two core statements in the Torah would be the winners. The first, of course, is the famous, "Love your neighbor as yourself." It is difficult to imagine a single statement in all of human history which really matches this verse as far as zeroing in on the ultimate goal of human life. It applies to everyone, and it is hard to imagine anyone disagreeing with it, whether they follow it or not. The only objection as far as serving as the bottom line of Judaism is concerned is that it does not mention God, at least in the way that it is usually quoted. But is there an alternative? It turns out that there is, and this is the one that would probably get the most votes. It is, of course, the opening line to what is known as the Shema. The Shema happens to come up in this week's Parsha. The Parsha is called Va'etchanan, a complicated-looking word which means, "and I pleaded," or something like that. This odd title continues what comprises the content of the first third of the book of Deuteronomy. This Parsha is the second of three which make up that first third. Essentially, it is a retelling of the major events that happened to the Israelites as they journeyed through the wilderness following the Exodus from Egypt. While certain things are missing from this long recap, most of the really big events are there. Included in all of this is a kind of running commentary from Moshe, which emphasizes the essentials of what this experience was all about. This parsha and the next contain the bulk of these essentials. Twice in this parsha, there are recaps of the Ten Commandments, including one which contains the description of the lead up to the event and the entire text. Though the text differs slightly from the way it was written earlier, it is clear that it is essentially the same thing. This experience was clearly a fundamental shaper in the way the Israelites would see themselves and the way Judaism would develop. There was nothing quite like this experience in all of human history. This point is underscored towards the beginning of the Parsha in the dramatic statement, quote, "When you inquire about earlier days which were before you, from the day that God created man on the earth, and from one end of the heavens until the other, has there ever been anything quite like this great thing, or has anything similar been heard? Has a nation heard the voice of God speaking from the fire, as you heard and lived?" Both before and after the Ten Commandments, there are paragraphs warning of the dangers of abandoning HaShem and worshiping other deities. This is one of the main themes of this entire book, and this parsha gets right to the core of the issue. There is a paragraph warning against the dangers of prosperity, which could lead to abandoning God and forgetting everything that God did. The parsha closes with a warning against assimilation with the surrounding nations, a danger the Jews would face for thousands of years. The Torah cuts no slack in this regard. It is a very all-or-nothing book, and the religion that it created has this same all-or-nothing quality to it. But shortly after the retelling of the Ten Commandments, there is a single paragraph right in the middle of all of this, which, had it not become so important in subsequent Jewish practice, could easily have gone overlooked amidst all these momentous teachings. This paragraph is known as the Shema, a three-letter word which means hear, H-E-A-R. While that word itself is only an introduction to what follows, it has become the famous title for what is probably the single most foundational idea in Judaism. If anything is the bottom line of Judaism, it is this verse, buried deep in the middle of this week's parsha. The opening line of the Shema paragraph, and probably the most important statement in Judaism, reads, quote, "Hear, Israel, HaShem is our God, HaShem is one." It takes up a total of 6 Hebrew words, none of which is particularly long or difficult to translate. The essential name of God, HaShem, is found twice in these 6 words. The first 2 words are the introduction, meant to get our attention. The middle 2 words, translated as HaShem is our God, are a basic statement of belief. The final 2 words, translated as HaShem is one, contains the core philosophical and theological element and has come to include a major portion of Jewish mysticism. This line has been adopted as one of the central components of Jewish prayer, and it is the statement recited at crucial junctures in life, such as a circumcision or at the moment of death. On the simplest level, the declaration that HaShem is one is very easy to understand. It means that Judaism believes in only one God. There is no second deity, no underlings or divine opposition. Whatever other divine elements may have crept into Judaism at one time or another, such as angels or demons or the Satan, are really nothing more than complications and coloring on the simple and unified Jewish idea of God. This idea has evolved considerably since biblical times, when its major emphasis was to eliminate any temptation to believe in alternative deities. It was obvious what it meant in the Bible. HaShem is the only God as far as Israelite belief is concerned. Through the millennia, this line attained great significance in both philosophical and mystical Jewish circles. The idea of oneness, or unity as it came to be known, encompassed the broader idea that not only is there only one God, but that God is all there is to reality. This radical statement, which is found in rudimentary form in next week's Parsha, also became very central to Judaism. It redefined reality as nothing more and nothing less than a kind of manifestation of God. Ideas like this became dangerous in theological discussions, with the major risk being overstepping acceptable limits and entering heretical territory. It is quite amazing how many profound and far-reaching ideas could be found in this simple statement. But on its simplest level, it always remained the basic idea that there is only one God. What is the great revelation of all of this? Isn't it obvious from the rest of the Torah that there is only one HaShem? The answer to this question is highly debatable. One possibility is found in the strange fact that there are two primary descriptive terms for God in the Torah. One, of course, is HaShem. The other is the word Elohim, which is the term for God in the creation story and is found all over the Bible. Is there a difference between them? The latter term, Elohim, has been identified in Judaism as the source of all natural processes, including the mysterious force of what can be called fate. It is things being the way that they are because that's the way they have to be. And the name HaShem, on the other hand, allows for open-ended possibilities that are not restricted by the guidelines of fate or nature. This name really means existence or something along these lines. It includes the power of human choice, an utter mystery when restricted to the forces of nature or the bounds of fate. How are these two aspects of God really one? Aren't they opposing powers, possibly representing two divine entities? The Shema answers this question with a definitive no. Every divine act of HaShem and every human choice initiated by the power of free will doesn't really oppose nature and fate, but sets them on a new course. As soon as that choice is made, fate resets and the guidelines are reformed. HaShem and the power of human choice, which stems from HaShem, rides above fate and also serves to regulate it so that it fits into the new parameters. HaShem, in a sense, is fate, but with an open-ended range of possibilities steering it along. This, perhaps, is the bottom line of Judaism. Shabbat Shalom.